It's time that Mayor Brown realized that Mississauga has paid for the growth and funded all the infrastructure in Brampton. You're welcome. And the umbilical cord must be cut, and we must move our separate ways, and we begin to put our emphasis and focus on our own cities.
Will the divorce of Peel Region be messy or not messy? But what does the mayor of Mississauga, Bonnie Crombie, have to say? We're gonna get into that, but before we do, hey, it's Brandon Gonez, and thanks for watching the BG Show. I need you to do a few things, like subscribe to this channel, like this video, make sure to comment below, and share it as well. So after speaking with Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown about Peel Region's divorce,
it will not be messy if Mississauga pays us back for what we've invested into their infrastructure.
A lot of people were wondering, well, what is Mississauga's take? Well, today we're speaking with Bonnie Crombie to get her side of the story, and we're also gonna ask her this pressing question. Will she be running to be the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party? The rumors are out there. Let's find out. Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie, thanks so much for joining me here on the BG Show.
Thanks for having me today, Brandon.
A lot to talk about. This Peel divorce. A lot of people are wondering, is it gonna get messy?
First, let me say that the Premier has done the right thing, and I'm very grateful for him to do so. You know, Hazel McCallion, my predecessor, our beloved former mayor, did not agree with the creation of the Region of Peel 50 years ago when former Premier Bill Davis created Peel Region because Mississauga was entering our growth phase, and it was designed to help fund the growth and development of Brampton and Caledon. And then in 2003, 20 years ago, she started her own campaign to secede from the Region of Peel because she, like I felt, that our property tax dollars should be reinvested in our city for our priorities and our programs and our services, not fund the growth of the other municipalities.
So what are the potential advantages and the potential disadvantages for the residents of Mississauga?
Well, there are a lot of advantages for the residents of Mississauga. In fact, we will gain $1 billion over the next decade. So when you think about it, having two-tier government is very cumbersome. It means that there's a second layer of approvals that have to be met. So once we pass our decisions here on planning applications, development applications, we have to then go to the Region of Peel to have them blessed by two other municipalities that may not be in favor of our priorities and our decisions. So you can imagine the costs that can be saved without a second layer of government, as well as the time that can be saved to get approvals on your development applications and everything else we do, so that we don't have to go to another level of government for commentary or those approvals, or have to engage other municipalities to get approvals on our decisions. We become the masters of our own house and able to control our own destiny. There could be, there always are some transition costs, but over the long run, we save money because we're not funding two levels of government, and we will stop transferring funding to the city of Brampton for their regional roads, for planning, and for Peel policing. Now, Peel policing is not funded by levels of service. If you call, a police cruiser through 911, that service call goes on your column and you pay that cost. It's assessment based. So what that happens is they look at revenue, and because we have a higher population, but more so because we have more businesses, we generate more revenue here. So our assessment base, our pool of revenue is much higher in Mississauga. We have 100,000 businesses, 75 Fortune 500s, 1,400 multinationals. And so we pay a higher cost of the policing in Brampton. And what I'm asking for is that policing and paramedics, quite frankly, remain intact, current structure, only that the funding model change.
But I want to talk about those transition costs that you talked about. So I know you have this $1 billion number that you're saying over the next decade, that money that Mississauga taxpayers will likely save with eliminating the second tier of government, the Region of Peel.
That's right.
But when we talk to Mayor Patrick Brown from Brampton,
I'm looking at the numbers. We're talking about billions of dollars that she is saying that she doesn't need to pay.
Let's talk about that. So that's very well and nice. But Mississauga has funded 70% of the costs at the Region of Peel for 40 years. Brampton, 25% of the costs, so he'd like 25 cents on his dollar right back, I suppose. Meanwhile, we've been providing him services for 50 years. And Caledon, 5 cents. That's how the breakout's been for 40 years of the 50. The past 10 years, Brampton has started growing. so that their participation has increased and ours has declined. We have gone from 70% of the cost to 60%. It's declined over time. 60, 66, 65, we're at 60 today. And they are now providing 35 cents on the dollar, and Caledon's still 5 cents on the dollar. So you can see we have built the infrastructure that provides services to both of our municipalities, to both our cities. The wastewater plant, the water treatment plant, the garbage facility, etc. We built that with 70% of the costs. So I'm not sure where he gets that. Plus, it provides his residents with those services, and there is capacity to expand. I know he's also claimed that they're out of capacity and can't provide him with service. Nothing could be further from the truth. We currently provide York Region with water. So obviously the capacity can be expanded.
But he seems adamant, though, Mayor Crombie, that there is a check that should be coming from Mississauga back to Brampton. And he's also adamant that Premier Doug Ford is on his side with that.
Well, that's great. That's his narrative. And, it's time that Mayor Brown realized that Mississauga has paid for the growth and funded all the infrastructure in Brampton. You're welcome. And the umbilical cord must be cut, and we must move our separate ways. And we begin to put our emphasis and focus on our own cities and ensure that our tax dollars are invested in our own cities rather than funding the growth of another municipality. At the end of the day, a transition board is going to be put in place to evaluate, who's correct. And the numbers will speak for themselves. We'll open up our books, as will he. There will be an audit, and it will be quite obvious who owns what assets are owned by the region of Peel that can be separated easily, and how that will happen. And I argue that while we paid for 70% of the assets being built, the best way forward today is that those assets be put into a utility-based model run by an independent board and be based on user pay.
So safe to say, Mayor Bonnie Crombie is not cutting no check to Brampton residents and to Mayor Patrick Brown.
No, but I appreciate his thanks, and you're welcome for all the investment that Mississauga has made into the city of Brampton.
Residents are wondering is the timing, from all of this. Why did Doug Ford choose to implement this and announce this now? There's also been a lot of rumors that you might be running for, the leadership of the Ontario Liberal Party, and this might be a way to make you happy and to say, hey, no need to do that. What are your thoughts? Is that true? I mean, you have a relationship with the Premier, so I'm wondering.
I have a very cordial relationship with the Premier. We speak all the time. In fact, when he made his announcement, I called him. We had a great conversation. I thanked him profusely.
But were you surprised by the timing of the announcement, or did you know it was coming?
I was given about a week heads up that it could be coming. And he had been speaking about it in the press. As you recall, there was an announcement with firefighters, and he made an investment into their training programs, and we were all at the Gary Morden Center, and he said he favored smaller, flexible, nimble cities that cut the red tape, cut the duplication, help get houses built faster, because we can get permits out sooner if we didn't have the two levels of government. And I know that messaging resonated with him. And listen, Brandon, if cities like Barrie and Belleville and Brantford and Kingston and London and Cobourg and Windsor and Dryden, Ontario can be freestanding, single-tier, independent cities, why can't Brampton?
It's a really, really great, interesting point. I do want to ask you this, though. Come 2025, when this is all supposed to be implemented and finalized, will you be mayor of Mississauga?
So my commitment is to see this through, and I will always have the interests of I will always put the interests of Mississauga first.
Okay, can you answer me, give me a yes or no? Will you be running, putting your name in the ring to be the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party?
So, that's an issue that's there's a lot of speculation around that, and I will share with you that people across the province, people across our city, have encouraged me to consider it. Obviously, I would be a serious candidate, and I care. I'm a strong centrist person. I'm fiscally responsible. I'm socially progressive. I run a very large city and I have a very big budget and I care about people. I hear from them. And so these are the same kinds of people that encourage me to consider running for the Liberal Party.
So you're considering it?
I'm considering, and that's the purpose of the exploratory committee. I want to speak to more Ontarians from the East, the North in particular, the West.
And Brampton?
Yes, of course, Brampton. I love Brampton. I love Bramptonians. It's a wonderful city. They're the flower city. It's, I'm fighting for fairness for my city, as Mayor Brown is fighting for, well, he's fighting for, I think, for a little bit more than what I think is fair. Okay. Yeah, but fairness, I've only asked for fairness and equity in this.
Mayor Bonnie Crombie, thank you so much for your time to this, what I'm pretty sure is going to turn into a little heated situation over the next 15 months. But we will keep in touch. And
it doesn't have to. We just leave it in the hands of the experts to open the books and go through the numbers, look at the assets and do a happy division, just like a happy divorce, just like the mayor of Caledon suggested. She had the happiest of all divorces. You just divide up the assets, divide up the liabilities, and move on.
All right. So we know Team Mississauga says it's going to be happy. Team Brampton says it could get messy. We'll let the future decide. Thank you so much, Mayor Crombie. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's BG, and I want to know, what do you think about what you just watched? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below, but also make sure to check out even more great content like this video and this video over here. And if you haven't subscribed to the Brandon Gonez Show, do so right now by clicking this button right here.